It's me. I know you're shocked. Um, Hopefully, when you guys record your presentations, we'll be able to see a little bit of the inside of everyone's living space. That could be cool. This lesson 6, is suggested for April 23rd, which is Shakespeare's birthday. I know you don't care, but I care very much. Okay, so the scales that I have set up there under number 1 for this lesson are: is youth more valued or experience more valued in your field? Is political engagement valued or political engagement frowned upon? Is it better to work in person or it's better to work remotely? Is it most important that we have attention to detail, or is understanding the big picture most important? Is working together most valued, or working solo? Formality, informality, and then private, public sector. So, for an example, I guess I'll talk about agriculture again because no one's doing agriculture. So, in agriculture, I would say that experience is really valued. That's a pretty conservative, not just like politically conservative, but an area where people have been doing it for so many thousands of years that like they have their sort of deep down ideas about what works, and for all I know, every single one of them is right. So I would say youth is not much valued in agriculture. It's not like becoming a new young person in farming is like everyone's like, oh, that looks great, that'll fix everything. I would guess. Political engagement is valued, or political engagement is frowned on. I would say generally in agriculture, political engagement is frowned on. Farmers generally have a pretty strong pull on the government, so they don't necessarily have to become more political. And if you're in agriculture, if you're a farmer, and everything about this is wrong, I'm sorry. Um, but I do know some farmers and talk to them sometimes. Is it better work in person or better to work remotely? Well, obviously in agriculture, you're mostly working in person, though you may be inside your little automatically moving around combine or whatever, and it's just doing its own thing. But obviously the work has to happen in person to a great degree. Attention to detail, understanding the big picture. I would guess that in agriculture, understanding the big picture is more important, because when you're looking at these big volumes of stuff, I mean, there's going to be some loss, there's going to be some mistakes, there's going to be some minor issues, but you have to keep in mind like the larger picture of what do we have to get out of the ground this year, what can we get done this season. Working together or working solo, there's a lot of solo work in farming at this point because there's so much computerized equipment and so forth. But within a farm family, I feel like often working together is a big part of it. So, formality in language and dress, or informality in language and dress, informality. My great grandfather was a farmer, and I mean, obviously that was a long time ago. But the only time he wore anything other than overalls was when he put on a suit to go to church. He's actually pictured in one edition of an encyclopedia, if you know what that is. Under Kansas Farmer, there's a picture of him. He wasn't really an exciting guy. That's the only exciting story. And the last one, private sector leads or public sector leads. And I think about this with farming. I would say public sector has a lot to do with the rules, but private sector has a lot to do with what they plant. The companies who, all this big agriculture and all that. So I would say probably mostly it's private sector leading and public sector pulling up the rear. Number 2 asks you to think about 2 metaphors people use for crime. That crime is spreading like a disease, or crime is attacking the city. I hope that first picture doesn't traumatize you. I probably should replace it. But have you think about what that means. Metaphors are really important. The way that people think of comparisons and the way they try to explain things to each other really has an effect on how they view that issue. There's a couple more questions, and then there is a place for you to think about what the KU website says, the metaphors and the figurative language in the description of the university, and finally, a place for you to come up with your own metaphor, which I always enjoy this. I'm so sad we're not together, so I can write them on the board, and I would be like that. But a metaphor for yourself about what aspects of university life, about what is the university like, and then some writing about what aspects of the university that focuses on. See you for lesson 7.